Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Debbie Arnott and I'm the Mayor of Warrnambool City Council. I will be chairing tonight's meeting. I would like to formally welcome everyone here and everyone watching this council meeting. This council meeting will be live streamed to allow for public viewing and transparency, and if any technical problems interrupt the live stream during this meeting, the meeting will be adjourned until the issues are rectified. This scheduled council meeting will be conducted in accordance with council's governance rules, and any interruptions to the meeting or actions not in line with behaviour expectations will be dealt with in accordance with these rules. I'd like to ask councillors to stand for the opening prayer and acknowledgement of traditional owners. Almighty God, grant to this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this city. Amen. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand and pay my respects to their elders past and present. Thank you. Are there any apologies for this meeting? I have an apology for Councillor Angelie Paspaliaris. Do I have a mover that council accept the apology from Councillor Paspaliaris? Thank you, Councillor Jelly. And a seconder, thank you. Councillor Taylor, thank you. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, at item 3 on the agenda, we have a recommendation before us to confirm the minutes of the scheduled meeting of council held on the 7th of November 2022. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Do I have a mover? Councillor Taylor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 4, conflicts of interest. If a councillor has a conflict of interest, they must declare it now and do so again just prior to the item being discussed. A councillor who has declared a conflict of interest must leave the meeting and remain outside the room while the matter is being considered or any vote is taken. Once the matter is resolved, the councillor will return to the meeting. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? Councillor Ziegler, what is your conflict?
Item 7.4, short stay accommodation.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ziegler, what's your conflict of interest?
I have a partnership in a short stay accommodation facility.
That's fine. Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. We'll move on to the mayoral presentation. Warrnambool City Council were very proud to take part in the 16 days of activation and join other organisations and members of the community to wear orange and walk through the CBD to draw attention to family violence and the role we can all play in eliminating it. This is a global movement to stop violence against women. The Australian Bureau of Statistics tells us that across Australia, every 9 days, a woman is killed by her partner or ex-partner. From the age of 15, 1 in 4 females experience violence from their intimate partner. And from the age of 15, 1 in 5 females experience sexual assault. I find these statistics just absolutely horrifying, and I do urge everyone in the community to do what they can to stop family violence in any form. Also, the Jericho Cup was held on Sunday the 27th of November, and what an outstanding day it was. A large crowd gathered to watch the running of the Cup, and it's obvious that now this is becoming an integral part of the racing calendar in Warrnambool. another fantastic event for our city. And as this is our last meeting for the year 2022, I wish to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I hope everyone stays safe and well. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 6, the public question time. All questions must be, sorry. Mayor, CEO, are there any public questions tonight?
Madam Mayor, we have 2 questions. The first one is from Kathy Probert of Dennington.
If Kathy is in the room, would you like to stand and read out your question, Kathy? You come over to the lectern there, Kathy.
Good afternoon. It's in regards to the planning permit that's being discussed tonight about 19 Preston Street. Excuse me. Okay. In the report, the council, the planning officer stated that the parking issue that was brought up by objectors is partially resolved by, and I quote directly from the report, the development does not propose a front fence, and therefore there will be an option for future residents to mount the curb and excuse me, I'm so nervous.
Take your time, it's okay.
Essentially park on street without impeding traffic movements within the street. That's what the report says. This is in direct conflict with the parking requirements that are laid out by the Vic Roads and which council local laws officers enforce. I've included that in my question from Vic Roads about what the law states about parking on nature strips and curbs. Do you need me to read that?
We just need you to read your question, Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's part of my question.
Yeah.
So, this is not a sufficient solution to parking congestion in the street. Also, council officers encouraging residents to break laws is a bit puzzling. Could council please explain to myself and the other residents of Preston Street how allowing high-density housing in a narrow street, which is mentioned numerous times within the report, has no real parking or access solutions laid out, is helping our area be the livable city that it's advertised to be? Also, could this council explain to me personally, as a homeowner of the house directly opposite this development site, how I will be able to enter and exit my home when the street has cars parked directly across from my driveway, which is my only access in and out?
Thank you, Kathy. Peter?
Madam Mayor, the response to the first question is that Victoria's planning framework requires that assessments in relation to planning applications are considered against an integrated decision-making framework. Responsible authorities should therefore integrate the range of planning policies relevant to the issues to be determined and balance at times conflicting objectives in favour of net community benefit. Particular density levels are seen as advantageous for some and negative for others, but council must consider whether the applicant, on balance, represents an appropriate outcome, whether or not some negative impacts arise. In response to the second question, although the proposal will create 2 new dwellings, there are 6 designated car parking spaces on site, which meets the parking requirements under the planning scheme.
Thank you, Peter. Is there any further questions for this evening?
Madam Mayor, there is a further question we have from Mr Graham Benter from Allensford.
Mr Benter, would you like to come to the microphone, please?
Questions in regards to the sale yards. I know you've voted on it. Why did the City Council not seek federal or state government funding for dollar to dollar to match the $2.5 million that was budgeted for in the annual budget for the redevelopment of the sale yards? If secured, the government funding, in addition to with the budgeted funds, would have enabled the sale yards to operate, making profits for the next 20 years. So it wouldn't have been would not bear any cost to the community. Okay, so to clarify the question, why did the council not seek government funding to assist with the redevelopment of the Warrnambool sale yards?
Mr Snyder.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Council had budgeted funds in the 2022-23 annual budget for upgrade works at South West Victorian Livestock Exchange, and would have funded much of that from borrowings. Council has in the past explored the possibility of external funding. However, as reflected in the independent financial report, the level of funding required for the minimum required standard at the sale yards was in excess of Council's affordability. Given the increased alternative markets for cattle, trend towards larger regional selling centres, a decade of reducing throughput at the sale yards and predicted maintenance expenditure, it is unlikely that a business case would attract funding support. Even if funding support was secured for the upgrade works, despite these difficulties, the ongoing capital maintenance expenditure and reduced throughput predictions did not forecast a profit for the sale yards.
Thank you, Mr Snyder.
Can I get clarification, please? In your budget predictions and so forth, didn't have any provision for any cost savings or price increases. So how can that be a fully investigated analysis if you haven't included those?
Mr Snyder.
Well, it sounds like a further question rather than a clarification. However, having said that, all that information was available in the reports to councillors at the last meeting that covered off on all of those things, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you,
thank
Mr
you.
Bender. Councillors, we are now moving to the officers' reports section of the agenda. I would like you to remind you of the speaking times allocated for each item during the meeting as outlined in our governance rules. The remover of a motion may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes to open the debate and then a further 2 minutes later on to exercise their right of reply and to close the debate. Any other councillor, including the seconder, may speak for or against a motion for no more than 3 minutes. To assist councillors with time limits, you will hear a signal when you have reached the maximum time allowed. I would ask you to respect the time limits, please. Item 7, reports. Appointments to advisory committees and external bodies, agenda page number 5. The purpose of this report is to consider councillor representation on the various council advisory committees and external bodies with which council is associated for the 2022-2023 council year. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I move that councillor representatives and delegates to the advisory committees and external committees for 2022-2023 council year be approved as per attachment 1 in this report, and that relevant advisory bodies and external committees be advised accordingly. 2, the community membership of the Community and International Relations Advisory Committee, Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee, Environment and Sustainability Advisory Committee and Planning Advisory Committee be increased from 5 to 8 members. And 3, that community nominations for 3 additional members on each of the listed advisory committees be advertised.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's a yearly thing, the advisory appointments, the advisory committee appointments, and look, it's a really important voice to council, these committees. What's discussed all comes back to us and all feeds into our decision making so that we can be truly reflective of our community. There haven't been any huge changes with councillors on committees this year. Councillor Jelly, I wish her all the best as she moves to the Economic Advisory Committee, as Councillor Arnott has stepped off and taken up all the roles of the Mayor. I think it's a really positive step that we move towards opening up these committees to more members. The more members, the more voices, the more representatives for Warrnambool. and the more chance everyone has to shape how we plan to do things. So I'd really encourage everyone to apply, to really have a voice to council and to share their advice, expertise and knowledge to shape our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blain. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I'll endorse the comments of my fellow councillor and add the observation that the increase of members for the advisory boards will also potentially improve the chances of getting a quorum at each of these meetings. In some occasions there's been a bit of a struggle, and as Councillor Blain intimated, it's also an effort to get some more community input into the very important aspects of council business. I'm all behind it.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Is there any other councillors who wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I agree. It's an annual thing. We go through this. I'm happy to be going on to the new committee and agree it's great to get some additional members on each advisory committee. It is important to get the voice of the community on there and work with us. And as Councillor Ziegler said, it's important for us to have a quorum at these meetings, so it will ensure that. So, thank you.
Is there any further councillors that wish to speak? No, thank you. Councillor Blain, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Mayor.
I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'll now move on to item 7.2, the grants policy, agenda page number 7. The purpose of this report is to present the grants policy to Council for consideration. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Taylor, what is your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I'd like to move the motion that the Council adopt the grants policy as per the officer's recommendation be accepted. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Blain, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. The VAGO audit report into fraud control over local government grants recommended that Council implement a grants policy detailing when and why Council uses grants, how they will administer grants programs, the risk-based approach to evaluate each grant, regular policies and procedures and roles in managing the grants. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Blain, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. These changes have been driven from the VAGO report, as Councillor Taylor said, over fraud control over local government grants. It's just tightening the policy to comply with the VAGO recommendations. I do think one thing that is really positive with these grants is that we have included now an acquittal process for grants to ensure that public funds have been spent in accordance with our expectations and the expectations of the community. And this has been set at $20,000. More transparency and better accountability for public funds is incredibly important. I also hope the new policy will open up more opportunities for more groups to be able to be supported through these grants. I'm also hoping that hopefully some stage in the near future there will be sessions to help inform vulnerable organisations how they can gain access to these grants and what's involved in and understand what's involved in gaining access to these funds. I think it's exciting for everyone and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Do any further councillors wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thanks, Mayor. I reiterate what my fellow councillors have said, and I think it's really important. I think the VAGO audit was very important, and I think this will ensure consistency and a proper structure for the grants process, which we've perhaps never had fully before. So all historical and future grants must fall into the scope of this policy. And I think it's fair. I think what Councillor Blaine has said, it'd be great to have some community workshops to explain these further to community groups so they understand, because I think a lot of groups don't apply for things because they perhaps don't know how, think they may not, fit the criteria, but perhaps they would. So I think it'll open up for a lot more people and be a fairer way of doing it.
Thank you, Councillor Jolly. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I'm just going to add my voice to the... Oh, sorry, Otho. Councillor Akosh, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add to my colleagues who previously said about the importance of grant policy, and for sure the community will benefit from it. And as a watchdog also for the council in terms of check and balance, transparency, equality, and inclusiveness. So I really support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Koch. Sorry about that before. I just also wish to add my support behind this grants policy. It is important to be open and transparent. It does align with our strategy and, how it's administered, the evaluation process, and how any conflicts of interest might occur as well. So it is an important in policy. I think we will hopefully encourage the community to get on board a little bit more, so that's great. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to add any further things to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Anna.
Thank you. No further speakers. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now move to item 7.3, the Customer Service Charter, agenda page 9. This report seeks council approval to release the draft Customer Service Charter for community feedback. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Ziegler, what is your motion?
That Council releases the draft Customer Service Charter 2022-2032 for community feedback.
Thank you.
I think that's actually a typo.
It could be. Is it meant to be 23 or 32?
2022, 20... Who wrote this one?
23? Corporate strategies?
23.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Taylor? Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, it's the Customer Service Charter, which is the rules for the interface between the council and the community. It's desperately important that the community is able to require council to perform according to the charter. And while it's heartening to see that Warrnambool's performed very well with customer service in all measures compared with the statewide figures and regional centres, there's still a way to go, and I'm very keen to see that customer service is improved as much as we can. So I'm keen for it to be put out for the community, and I'm even more keen for the community to respond to it.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. Yes, it is very pleasing to see the Council's Customer Service 2022 statistics rate higher than 2021, other regional centres and the statewide average, up 2 points on 2021, although there still remains room for more improvement, and the Council is in a good position to release the draft to engage in identifying changing needs and priorities when developing and delivering services and programs to the community. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Do any further councillors wish to speak on this motion? Thank you. I'd just like to add that a part of this customer service charter is also the gender equity impact assessment, which is attached to that. So this is also another important document. So I do encourage all community to have some feedback on this. Thank you. I will now put the motion to the vote. Oh, sorry. Councillor Ziegler, sorry. Do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
I do, Mayor, thank you, yes. I think it's very important that these improvements that have been mentioned in the background notes for this particular motion, it is acknowledged that much of this improvement in our overall performance, our customer service, is down to the efforts of our staff. It's not the councillors, it's the staff who have actually responded to the demands of customer service and have done extremely well, and I think that it should be included in minutes that their efforts are acknowledged.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, I'll declare a conflict.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 7.4, the short stay accommodation local law, agenda page number 11. This report provides information on the introduction of a new short stay accommodation local law and recommends that Council release the draft local law for community consultation. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillor Blaine?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so the revenue that's raised from this local law, what's it actually going to?
Do I answer that?
Sorry?
Do I answer that or can you answer
We can get Bree.
that? Bree, I'll get you to answer that, please.
Councillor Blaine. The revenue raise is intended to support the services that are provided within the economy.
Then my next question is, why does it say in the report, in the short-term rental accommodation research paper, that nearly all of the revenue that's raised from this law is going to go in enforcing the law? I can quote from it if you like.
That's okay, Councillor Blaine. I would suggest that report was...
Sorry, can't hear you.
Sorry, I would
Could you
suggest...
talk up? Can't hear you.
Sorry, I would suggest that report was done when the initial investigation was taken into the local law to support the research and theory into whether this was appropriate. The enforcement of this local law is anticipated to be low because of the approach that Council is proposing to take with the way the local law would be enforced.
So how much is being planned? How much is it going to cost in order to enforce this local law?
I can't answer that question at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Taylor, what is your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I'd like to move a motion that Council authorise the publishing of a public notice outlining the objectives of the short stay accommodation local law, the intended effect of the law, and that a copy of the local law is available for inspection at the Council office and on its website for a period not less than 28 days, and the report be returned to the Council meeting on Monday the 6th of February 2023 as per the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, but to open for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. Yes, this short stay accommodation fee will bring Warrnambool into line with other municipalities to address the inequity between registered motels and hotels who pay commercial rates and must meet strict registration requirements, and those also providing visitor accommodation through newer platforms such as Airbnbs who do not. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak to at this time?
Yes, thank you. I agree it should go out for community feedback and consultation. I have a few different thoughts about this. I actually think that, like other states, that it should be an administration of the state, not local government. And I think across the state we've got variations in many municipalities of perhaps a proposed fee like this or a rate increase on their rates. So I'm still not quite sure that this proposal is correct, but I'll be very interested to get feedback from the community, so I will support this going out.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Is there any further councillors that wish to speak? Councillor Blaine.
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. Look, it's interesting. With this fee, we don't actually know what with this local law, we don't actually know what it's going to cost to administer, which is kind of a big question mark when we're going out for consultation. So we don't really know what the impacts of the law is going to be. One of the reports, it says it's going to cover the administration of the law. The other one says, the draft local law impact statement states that this will go into the visitor economy. So I wonder, what does this law propose to achieve for Warrnambool Council and the community? I can't see it's going to open up more housing. I don't see any advantage in council administering the fee and tying up our resources. For the other accommodation providers, this isn't going to level the playing field between Airbnb and commercial operators. A rough law like this doesn't seem to set out, it doesn't achieve what we're saying it'll set out to do. It's not going to do that. Unless it is across the entire state and all councils have the same rules, these ad hoc local laws don't seem to really address the underlying issue with Airbnb. It's very similar to the taxis and the Uber. And look, there is the scope to bring in differential rates, but even then, it's not going to be done on a fair and equitable basis. It's interesting because Mornington seems to be the one that's always touted as they brought in a fee to try and stop the party houses, but those Airbnbs actually get a service from that. There's a security company hired to monitor those houses. We're charging a $400 fee. What's coming out of it? I don't see it there. You know, so I hope it doesn't go out for consultation, but if it does, Merry Christmas to the Airbnb owners. Thank you.
Is there any further councillors that wish to speak? I would just like to make comment about this. At the moment, we do have a very fair system involving short stay accommodation. There's no doubt about that. The short stay accommodation is largely unregulated. We know that. They don't have to comply to any sort of standard at all. I do agree that it is a state government responsibility, but when is that going to happen? We don't know. So my question is, why shouldn't the Airbnbs contributed to pay something for us to promote the tourism sector like motels, hotels and other accommodation providers have to? Why shouldn't they contribute to a tourism industry that every other accommodation provider has to? When we look at the logistics, when you average $200 a night on a 40% occupancy rate, we're talking about a turnover of $29,000 $200 a year. So a $400 fee is not a great expense on the short-term accommodation providers. The local law would outline very clear requirements regarding required standards. So it will enhance neighbourhood amenity. It will assist with peace and order and good governance. Councillor Blaine has mentioned security companies. Well, I don't know who would have to go out and hire a security company to look after their Airbnb. If that's happening, then that's nearly a police matter, isn't it? The code of conduct, they should be required to display the responsibility of the behaviour of occupants and visitors and addressing unacceptable behaviour. They should be made to provide information regarding waste disposal. They should be made to provide information regarding parking and off-street parking. It's like I said before, it's been said that we should wait for state legislation, but this process could take quite a while. And I do think it's important that we get started on this. Councillor Blaine has stated that it's going to cost more to administer than what the funds we may get in return.
Point of order, Mayor. I stated what was in the report that said it was going to cost.
Okay, so Councillor Blaine, you stated that in the report. Fair enough.
But I didn't say it'd cost more, Mayor. I never once stated that.
Okay, I hear you.
Report.
That's fine. I will take that back then. The report has stated that, as our director of over there, Bree, has stated that that was an older report. However, I still think it is time, as other councils, we take a stand on this. So I am prepared to support this motion. There being no further speakers, Councillor Taylor, would you like to close the motion or speak before we close the debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Anna.
I will now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. All those against? The motion is carried 3-2. Thank you. We will now move on to item 7.5. Oh, sorry. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 7.5, the Great South Coast Regional Digital Strategy, agenda page number 15. This report seeks council endorsement of the Great South Coast Regional Digital Strategy. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Taylor, what is your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I'd like to move a motion to endorse the Great South Coast Regional Digital Strategy to develop implementation and a communications plan that will be brought back to Council by the 30th of June 2023 as per officer's recommendation be accepted. Thank you, Mayor Anna.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Blaine, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. The municipalities of Warrnambool, Moyne and Corangamite have partnered together to form a digital strategy which will enhance livability, productivity and promote sustainability in the region. The strategy, funded by the state government, to align and support each of our community visions for 2040, in addition to the state aspirations of the Victorian Government digital strategy. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Arnott. The digital strategy, it's critical to our region moving forward. You know, and I think this is going to be a really important document. Even better mobile phone reception, still something that we struggle with in Warrnambool and the surrounding regions. And, you know, it's something that I hope will continue to get better so that we can have true 100% coverage. And look, what's going to help Warrnambool and the region moving forward is going to be having technology and future-proofing our technology and our digital assets in order for industry to continue to grow. As industry moves forward, the digital capabilities are going to be critical to build a better, more efficient, cleaner, greener industries for Warrnambool, the Southwest, you know, and the world. It's going to be incredibly important. The digital strategy is, you know, I think it is aspirational in what we want to see and what we need in order to be able to thrive and grow as a region. So I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Thank you. There being no further speakers, Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Arnott.
I will now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now move on to item 7.6, the amended planning permit application PP 2000-0135.04-355 Koroit Street, agenda page number 17. This report summarises the planning assessment that provides a recommendation relating to the application to amend an existing permit which allows use of the land for industry, waste transfer station, where the amendment would facilitate extended hours of operation, and recommends that Council issue a notice of decision to amend the permit. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Ziegler, what is your motion?
Mayor Arnott, I have an alternative motion I'd like to put to Council. That Council, having caused notice of planning application number PP 2000-0135.04 to be given under Section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and having considered all the matters required under Section 60 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, should decide to refuse the application under the provisions of the Warrnambool Planning Scheme in respect of the land known and described as Lot 43L, SEC 70, CA PSH WAN, TSH WARR at 355 Koroit Street, Warrnambool, Victoria 3280, for the amendment to facilitate extended hours of operation of the waste transfer facility in accordance with the endorsed plans, subject to the following grounds: that the amendment would lead to a negative impact on surrounding land uses, including those specifically identified in the assessment of the original permit, in contravention of the decision guidelines of clause 33.01 and 52.14.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Akosh, thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do. Mayor Arnott, I think that ultimately the reapplication of this particular item or the planning application hasn't changed substantially. I believe that the increases of use that would be intended by the application would be an unreasonable imposition on the amenity of surrounding residents and is against the original intention of the uses of the particular property.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Koch, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree totally with my colleague Ziegler that the amendment would lead to negative impact at the surrounding land. So this is, to me, is a serious issue that cannot be just passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Jelly.
Thanks, Mayor. I agree that nothing has changed substantially with this. When they've come back to us, I think the movement of large vehicles in the night, beeping, disruptions out of hours, I think it's not good for the local amenity of the area and the residents living in that area.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? There being no further speakers, Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No more, Mayor Arnott, than to reiterate what I said. I don't think the application is substantially changed from the original, and I think that in this case I'd like to lend my voice to supporting the folks who have objected.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now move on to item 7.7, PP 2022-0052-19 Preston Street, Dennington. Agenda page number 25. This report summarises the planning assessment that provides a recommendation for the application to develop the site known as 19 Preston Street, Dennington, with 3 single-storey dwellings, and recommends that Council issue a notice of decision to grant a permit subject to conditions. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillors, do I have an amended motion? Thank you. This item has lapsed. We will now move on to item 7.8, the development plan application DP 2022-0008-147 Wollaston Road. Agenda page 29. This report considers the north of the Merai River Development Plan, describing future residential development, a retirement village and open space development. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I'd like to move that, having considered all matters normally required under Section 60 of the Act for planning applications, Council should endorse the development plan under the relevant provisions of the Warrnambool Planning Scheme with respect to the land known and described as Lot 1 Title Plan 99782 and Lot 1 Title Plan 88444446 on 147 Wollaston Road, Warrnambool, Vic 3280, which seeks to facilitate future residential retirement village and open space development on site.
Thank you, Councillor Blaine. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Jelly. Councillor Blaine, would you wish to speak to? Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'd like to say it's good. It's great. This has actually come back to Council after we raised our concerns last time. I think it was the August meeting. about the golf course. So the golf course has been taken out of the proposal, so it shouldn't have any impact on floodways. And more than likely in future that will turn into public open space. And with the revised development plans, there will be room left to widen the road. There's the need for more housing in Warrnambool, so I'm happy to support the revised proposal. It's really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak?
Thank you. Yes, like Councillor Blaine, I'm really pleased the developer's gone back and had a look at this, reconsidered, because it was a private golf course on public open space, which did not sit well. So I think that's great. Yes, there's more housing required. The concept sounds great. And the role of this development plan now can provide direction of the form and the layout of the future development.
Thank you. Is there any councillors who wish to speak further? Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, I'll echo the words of Councillor Blaine. I think it's good. Extra housing has been made available. The floodplain won't be imposed upon. We won't have issues of a private golf course on public land. We will, of course, have a slight imposition on council operational staff to help maintain that public open space, but given that we'll have more housing and the developers have actually heeded the words of council and widened the road and taken off the golf course, is a good thing. So I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Are there any further councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. Yes, I'd just like to endorse the my fellow councillors on their comments, and also this development of 52 lots in this subdivision will greatly assist the housing shortage in Warrnambool, and I endorse the issue of a planning application to 147 Wollaston Road now that the golf course has been omitted from the floodplain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any further councillors wish to speak? No. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to close?
Yeah, just quickly, on what Councillor Ziegler said, yes, it will be an imposition, the open space, but I suppose that's what we do. That's our job as councillors, to look after the open space and provide for our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now move on to item 7.9, the Albert Park Revegetation Plan, agenda page number 33. This report considers submissions to the draft Albert Park Revegetation Plan and recommends that the plan be adopted by Council. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? No. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I'd like to move, sorry, I've lost my place. The council resolved to receive and consider submissions in response to the draft Albert Park Revegetation Plan and adopt the Albert Park Revegetation Plan.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Ziegler? Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. Look, I think this is really exciting for creating nature corridors in Albert Park. It'll take time, but it's really exciting, the project, watching this project come to fruition over the next few years. And there were 9 written submissions, and they were, and it was really well done. Like 4 organisations and 5 individuals who felt strongly enough about the plan in order to actually tell us what they thought. And we've made some changes in relation to their feedback, and I think it'll be really good. I think it's really exciting. Thank you.
Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor Arnott. Basically, in general terms, I'm in favour of any project that means we're revegetating anywhere, frankly. This is a good opportunity for us to increase and improve the vegetation aspects of a much beloved patch of ground in Warrnambool and to help protect some of the unique species of vegetation that we have up there as well. I think that this is a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Is there any further councillors that wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, it was great. The 9 submissions that came in, they were quite detailed, and obviously people that show a great interest in this sort of thing, and some great suggestions that have been taken on board, more in non-Indigenous species, larger trees for habitat and shade, specific small vegetation for smaller birds. So a myriad of different things that will bring different factors into the Albert Park area. So, and thanks very much for those who took the time in putting in their feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any further councillors that wish to speak? I'll just support everyone, what they're saying about Albert Park. We're so fortunate to have that amount of land virtually centrally located in our city, and it is an important area that we must look after and revegetate. So I'm all for supporting this plan. Thank you. No further speakers. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now move on to item 7.10, Council's future energy contracts, 30 June onwards, agenda page number 38. This report provides information to Council regarding Council future energy contracts from the 1st of July 2023 onwards, and seek authorisation to commence the transition to the state government and power purchase agreement contracts. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I move that Council approve the transition of from Procurement Australia energy contracts to state government energy contracts for electricity and gas services, and authorise the CEO the authority to sign, seal and vary the contracts as required.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. The energy agreement isn't probably quite where we want to be at this point in time, but as we move towards 2030, we will continue to increase our renewable energy supply. I think as technology improves, I think that the closer we move towards 2030, the cheaper and better the energy is going to be. So even by accepting this contract, there is still the opportunity to be involved with new technologies, hydrogen, solar, hydro, as they emerge. But just for the moment, this is probably a good balance at this point in time for Council in relation to where their energy comes from. Thank you.
Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion? Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you.
I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.11, proposed car and boat parking, Angling Club boat ramp, agenda page number 41. This report provides information on a proposed new car and boat trailer parking for the Angling Club boat ramp along the Hopkins River. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
The Council improved the enclosed concept plan for boat trailer parking at the Angling Club boat ramp, refer attachment 2, for stakeholder engagement and budget consideration, the 2023-2024 budget.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Taylor? Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I think this is a really exciting proposal, actually finally having formalised parking down there. Look, it probably won't be enough due to the usage of the ramp at this stage, but it is a step forward, and we're working towards, we're working towards formalising and having that as a really having that as a really usable precinct, especially because it's one of the most usable boat ramps on the river, being a totally floating jetty. And look, it's important we get feedback just from the user groups to make sure that, well, is this what they want? And also ensuring that council can fund it because it's a parking issue, not a boating issue. So we've struggled with better boating. So I think it's really exciting to make a more usable boat ramp for one of the best boat ramps, I believe, in the Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. Although it is good to see 13 car parking spaces and 6 boat trailer parking spaces, they fall well short of when the Angling Club have their once-a-month fishing competitions, when they have between 40 to 50 club members competing in the competition. I would like to see the car parks and boat trailer parks increased when the stakeholder and the budget consideration is discussed in the 23-24 budget. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Jelly.
Yes, I think it's good that there's a concept plan, and that when we get some stakeholder engagement and further, I think it's important to have some designated parking down there. There is parking on the road. I understand what Councillor Taylor's saying, that when they do have their big competition, there's lots, and that's great. We welcome that. I know there's parking on the road around the corner opposite the cemetery there, that people can take their boat off and go and pull their car up around there. But I understand what he's saying with extras. But I think it's great because it is a great facility, and it is well used by the Angling Club and visitors that come. It's good.
Thank you. Any Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, Mayor Arnott, that particular area is very well used, and from time to time you can see that there are more boat trailers than 6. The users of the boat ramp have tended, in most cases, to order themselves fairly safely, but the fact that this is going out to consultation, stakeholder engagement and budget consideration allows for feedback from the relevant parts of the community, and I really would like to see some constructive feedback to help advise our officers with the design and the budget considerations for this particular project.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the motion? Being no further debate, Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you, Mayor.
I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.12, the Dragon Boat Storage Shed Update, agenda page number 43. This report provides an update on the Dragon Boat Storage Shed project and recommends additional budget be allocated from the Small Infrastructure Fund to complete the project. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Jelly, what is your motion?
Yes, Mayor, that we take the recommendation from the officers that the council allocate an additional $55,000 from the 2022-23 Small Infrastructure Fund budget to complete the Warrnambool South Sea Dragon Boat Club project.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Jelly, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I fully support this allocation of an additional $55,000 from the Small Infrastructure Fund. As we're all aware, construction costs have escalated and been more difficult over the last couple of years from when this original project was originally scoped and put out. So this boat shed will benefit many, and it's great for those involved in the Warrnambool South Sea Dragon Boat Club members. It's great for them getting fit, getting healthy, having a bit of fun. A lot of them been through difficult times in their life, so this is a great thing, and I really support it. So I think it will be a great facility.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor Arnott, I'll basically back up Councillor Jelly's comments. I think that this is a fantastic project. It's a really good community activity. The Dragon Boat Club achieves an enormous amount for the members of the club. It's another activity which attracts people to Warrnambool. It makes sense to make sure that they've got enough money to finish their shed and do it properly. It's just a no-brainer in my book.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Blaine.
I fully endorse what Councillor Jelly and Councillor Ziegler has said, and it's amazing we're finally doing this storage shed for them when last month they celebrated 10 years here in Warrnambool. Like, it's really exciting to see that we're supporting a club they've done a lot with what they've had so far, and hopefully we'll see them do a hell of a lot more. Thank you.
Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I'd just like to endorse my fellow councillors' comments, and also the building of the Dragon Boat storage shed behind the ski club will make it far more convenient, easier and safer for rowers to put their boat in the river. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you. Any further councillors wish to speak? Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you.
Okay. I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.13, the South Warrnambool Change Room refurbishment, agenda page number 46. The purpose of this report is to present to Council information on the minor works contract 2022017-South Warrnambool Football Club Change Rooms refurbishment and put forward a recommendation to award. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Ziegler, what is your motion?
I'll move that the officer's recommendations be endorsed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Blaine. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Mayor Arnott, yes, I think that it's imperative that we bring these kind of facilities up to benchmark status. Some of the facilities are wanting, and it makes sense that we maintain them and bring them up to adequate standard.
Thank you. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Look, it's a really exciting project for the South Warrnambool Change Rooms, moving towards female-friendly facilities, which is something that we're hoping to see across the entire municipality in every single sports ground. Better facilities, as Councillor Ziegler said, like we want to see all sports having what they need in order to thrive in our community. And look, it has been challenging, as many projects have been this year, I'd say, and I think it's probably a theme that we're going to see into next year, finding contractors. So it's good to see we've actually got someone to do the works, and yeah, I'm really happy to support it. I think it's really exciting.
Any further councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Jelly.
Yes, I think it's great, providing them an opportunity to upgrade the change rooms, female-friendly, which is great, so we'll be able to make that much better, improved accessibility for all. And they're hoping, I hope so too, that this is done by April 2023 before the next season begins, so that they can utilise the rooms by then.
Thank you. There being no further speakers, Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
Only to make the observation, Mayor, that it's imperative that such facilities become accessible to everybody, and it beggars belief that they're not female friendly anyway, given that they're used for netballers as well as and women footballers as well as men footballers, and we're just doing what we have to do.
Thank you. I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.14, the Warrnambool Hockey Synthetic Turf Replacement, agenda page number 49. This report provides an update on the hockey pitch synthetic turf replacement tender process with a recommendation to delegate authority to the CEO to award the tender contract on the basis that all procurement and budget requirements are met. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Jelly, what is your motion?
To accept the officer's recommendation for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I just think it'd be great to get this synthetic turf replaced. I know they've got a lot of things happening up there with thoughts of future growth there. Warrnambool City Council contributed $400,000. The hockey club still has to confirm that they can provide $200,000 additional funds. So let's hope that they can do that.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor Arnott, it's worth noting for the public that the motion stipulates that the following conditions are met: that it's in accordance with the procurement policy, that it meets the assessment criteria set out within the tender, that Council's total contribution will be no more than $400,000, and that the Hockey Association will pay the residual amount of the tender above our contribution, the Council's contribution of $400,000. As Councillor Jelly has mentioned, the club's contribution of $200,000 will be a fairly substantial target for them to meet, but if they can do that, then they're on board.
Thank you. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? I'll just make note that this is an exciting time for the hockey club. They are hoping to have a new synthetic turf by March 24th because there's Hockey Australia have agreed for the Hockey Fives to have their national selection trials there. So if it's not completed, they won't get the event. So in effect, it is costing council $400,000, but there's an agreement that it will not go over that amount. So thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to close the motion? There being no further speakers, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.15, informal meetings of council reports, agenda page 52. The purpose of this report is to provide council with copies of informal meetings of council, previously known as Assembly of Councillor Records, as previously required under section 80A(2) of the Local Government Act 1989. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Taylor, what is your motion?
Thank you, Mayor Arnott. I would like to move the motion that the record of the informal meetings of council held on the 14th, 21st and 28th of November be received as per the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor Arnott.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jelly, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor Anna.
Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak to the motion? Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? There being no further councillors, I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Item 7.16, Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activities Summary Report, agenda page 53. This report summarises Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council activities since the last ordinary meeting, which particularly relate to the key social, economic and environmental issues of direct relevance to the Warrnambool community. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I speak a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Jelly, what is your motion?
Yes, that the Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activities Summary Report be received.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, thank you. Councillor Jelly, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor Anna.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. No notice, item 8, notice of motion. No notices of motion have been received. We'll go to item 9, general business. General business is for items that are of a minor or routine nature, and I retain the right to reject the items in accordance with clause 29(2) of the governance rules. I remind councillors that you will have a maximum of 2 minutes to speak, and officers will be provided with an opportunity to respond or address any issues raised. Councillors, are there any items of general business? No, thank you. We'll now move on to item 10, urgent business. Chief Executive Officer, have you received any notice of any items of urgent business?
There has been none, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So we will now, being no further items of business, I declare the meeting closed at 7:02 p.m. Thank you.